For a long time, we've mostly stuck to shorter videos on this channel, briefly touching on topics in shorter 5 to 10 minute videos. But we're trying something new. Starting with this video, we're gonna start doing some more in-depth and longer videos covering more general topics, mini documentaries you could say. In the first video of this new series, we'll be discussing the Republic's advanced Recon Commandos, also known as ARCs. Advanced Recon Commandos, ARC Troopers for short, were the best of the best in the Grand Army of the Republic. Normal clone troopers were already extremely well trained and highly skilled soldiers, while clone commandos were even more deadly. However, ARC Troopers were even deadlier than both clone breeds. Intended as a failsafe in the event that Kaminoan was attacked, there were originally only 100 ARC Troopers all told, but that number increased as regular clones that displayed extreme skill were made ARC Troopers as a promotion of sorts. ARC Troopers were mostly an experiment on the part of the Kaminoans, an attempt at creating effective super soldiers. While normal clone troopers were highly skilled, they weren't all that skilled in more individually demanding roles, like strategy or solo missions. While clone commandos excelled in those areas, they in turn were vulnerable when used as straight ground troops, something that caused thousands of commando deaths when they were improperly used in the First Battle of Geonosis. The ARC Troopers were the Kaminoans' attempt to reconcile the two. ARCs were essentially pure Jango Fett, and with his training, they became some of the best soldiers in the galaxy. The original batch of ARCs were considered a failure, saved from euthanization only by Cal Skurada, who adopted and trained the squad for special missions. We're here to discuss the Alpha class ARC Troopers, the Kaminoan second batch which they deemed a success. Exactly 100 Alpha class ARCs were bred, and of them, only Alpha 2, who call themselves Spar, showed any defects. Though the ARC Troopers were obedient enough to the Kaminoans, they were nonetheless fiercely independent, much like the man they were cloned from, and quickly developed distinct personalities. Most even chose names for themselves, something the Kaminoans reluctantly tolerated.
Cut up! I like the sound of it.
Once they had received basic flash training, the ARC Troopers were trained further by Jango Fett himself. In secret training sessions, Fett taught the ARCs how to be independent and how to use that independence as a direct combat advantage. Fett taught them nearly every fighting trick he knew, and by around 22 BBY, he had turned the ARC Troopers from a batch of genetically superior clone troopers to 100 one-man armies. Of all these ARCs, only Spar proved effective, as he had inherited some of Jango Fett's memories. At the urging of one of the Mandalorian trainers stationed on Kamino, Fett smuggled Spar off-world, where he began a life of his own and eventually founded the Mandalorian Protectors, as we detailed in a video around a year ago. ARC Troopers were equipped for a variety of missions and were given the best gear the Kaminoans could offer. They wore modified Phase 1 clone trooper armor at first, and a few months into the war, they switched to an early prototype for Phase 2 armor. To go with their standard armor, they modified their helmets and wore Karma's skirts and pauldrons, as well as additional supply belts and weapon holsters. Each ARC Trooper used a different array of weapons unique to them, which ranged from standard DC-15 blaster rifles and DC-17 blaster pistols, to heavier weapons like the powerful Westar M5 rifle and the Z6 rotary blaster, and the reciprocating quad blaster. Most ARC Troopers attached additional weapons or gadgets to their armor, like miniature flamethrowers or Captain Fordo's cable taser. After their training was complete, the ARC Troopers were put in suspended animation, kept in Topoka City until the First Battle of Kamino. During that battle, with the Confederacy getting closer and closer to victory, Kaminoan Prime Minister Lama Su decided to release the ARC Troopers, who were able to help the Jedi drive the battle droids off Kamino entirely.
The droids have been pushed back to the main hangar.
The ARC Troopers were then dispersed across the Grand Army of the Republic. Some were grouped into squads for special missions, like Fordo and the Munilist 10, while others were assigned as clone liaisons to Jedi generals like Alpha 17. The demand for these special clones skyrocketed, and the Kaminoans began making more, as many members of the original line died in combat. Near the end of 22 BBY, after escaping Asajj Ventress's prison on Ratatak, ARC Captain Alpha 17 decided to return to Kamino to train a new generation of clone commanders, who would be more like ARC Troopers so as to better work with the Jedi. This training program produced Republic stars like Commander Cody and Captain Rex, and Alpha's former students would go on to lead nearly every major unit in the Grand Army. Alpha stayed on Kamino until the end of 20 BBY, when he left to fight in the Battle of Boz Pity. Despite the Kaminoans' attempt to modify existing clones to effectively become new ARC troopers, the demand for these elite clones quickly led to the necessity of recruitment from regular clone ranks. By the end of 22 BBY, standard clone troopers that showed individualism and extreme ingenuity were often reclassified as ARC troopers, which was seen as a promotion of sorts. Though, in most cases, their ranks remained the same. Two notable examples of this were of course Fives and Echo, two former members of Domino Squad.
Echo, Fives, you're both officially being made ARC troopers. I don't think the Separatists will be coming back here anytime soon, but if they do, Kamino will be lucky to have clones like you defending it.
Over the 3-year span of the Clone Wars, ARC troopers were instrumental in many Republic victories, and were rightly seen as the best soldiers the Kaminoans had to offer. Aside from the aforementioned defense of Kamino, notable ARC actions included the Battle of Munilist, in which the Munilist 10 helped capture the leaders of the IGBC, the Battle of Pangolin 4, in which a squad of ARCs destroyed a key CIS missile factory, the Battle of Hypori, in which the Munilist 10 became the first clones to face General Grievous and survive, and the Battle of Coruscant, in which ARC Captain Fordo single-handedly demolished an entire column of super battle droids. There were many notable members of the ARC Trooper line, especially Alpha and Fordo. Alpha 17, who we mentioned earlier and who most of you know, was responsible for training many of the most famous clone commanders, while Fordo, otherwise known as Alpha 77, led the Munilans 10, the most skillful unit of clones in the Republic. Other notable ARC troopers included Jango Tat, or Alpha 98, who disobeyed direct orders to save lives on Ord Cestus. Maze, or Alpha 26, who served as the clone liaison for Arligan Zay, who commanded the Republic Special Operations Brigade, and Muzzle, or Alpha 66, who founded a mercenary band after the war's end. By the end of the Clone Wars, many of the surviving ARC troopers had become rather pessimistic, having seen the worst of the war firsthand. Their independence led nearly all those ARCs that received Order 66 to ignore the Order, though, unfortunately for the Jedi, few of those that were sent the Order were ARCs in the first place. Many of the original Alpha class ARC troopers died in the conflict, and some, including Alpha 17, went missing. Like many veteran clone troopers, the ARC troopers were allowed to choose between retirement and continued service after the Clone Wars ended. Those that chose the latter were almost always sent to Kamino to train the next generation of Imperial stormtroopers. Those ARCs were few in number, however. Their sense of independence led nearly all ARC troopers to choose retirement. Many formed mercenary groups, as was the case for Alpha 66, while some others even formed some early rebel cells, though it's unknown if any ARC survived long enough to join the Rebel Alliance. While the Imperial Stormtrooper Corps did have a few Stormtrooper classes that could be seen as equivalent to ARC troopers, they did not use the ARCs themselves, as the Empire saw their independence as a threat to Imperial indoctrination. The only major example of ARC troopers in action after the Clone Wars was during the Kaminoan Clone Rebellion. As part of their clone resistance force, the Kaminoans bred a brand new line of ARCs, which they classified as Rail-class Advanced Recon Commandos. These ARCs joined the anti-troopers in resisting the Empire in Kamino's brief rebellion, but all of them were eventually killed, and the Empire successfully squashed the rebellion. Well guys, I finally jumped on the bandwagon, and yeah, you guessed it, I have a Patreon now. First things first, I don't expect any of you guys to donate. It's completely optional, and it's if you want to support the channel even more than you're already doing so by watching the videos. That's the story of the Republic's Advanced Recon Commandos, the deadliest soldiers of the Clone Wars. Now these longer type videos are sort of an experiment, so please feel free to leave feedback in the comments section below. We do intend to make more of these, so make sure you leave recommendations on what you want us to do next as well. And as per usual, I want to know your thoughts. Do you think ARC Troopers or Clone Commandos are better? Post your thoughts in the comments section below. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.